Like, share, subscribe, and check out our other videos in the channel.
On.
Our designers are given an image of a spare room. They can design it freely, but they will share one requirement. With their designs completed, our designers will meet, share, and explain their design.
Hi, my name is Shin. So my forte is actually space planning. What I like to do is to increase the storage, the spaces, and of course maximizing the circulation of the movement in the house itself. Personally, I think a good design will actually be to incorporate the thrill of the owner into the home aesthetic to build characters into the home itself.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I feel like I don't stick to one personal interior design style, but I do love the mid-century modern and a bit of art deco. I think my preference is having a clear contrast with old and new, or feminine and masculine styles. So I'm excited to show you our design later on.
Hi, my name is Ami. When it comes to designing a space, I would like to incorporate colors, contrast, and flow to the house. And my preferred styles will be mainly modern luxe and modern contemporary.
3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Oh,
Wow.
I love how
Oh.
different
Okay.
it all went. Okay, yours is a tea room. And yours?
Entertainment
My
room,
entertainment room, a gaming
I
room.
love this.
Yep, mine's a gaming room.
Iconic.
Yours is
playground.
music room.
music room.
Nice. So for us, this was a spare room, and I kind of wanted to have a tea room all the while. So I decided to, okay, how about we just go for a tea room with a display kind of idea, and then it slowly just came out into this, what we have here. I'll first talk about the flooring. I'm using Terrazzo tiles and also a cement house, just to tie back to our theme of tribute to old Singapore homes. So back in the olden days, HDB, we have this very iconic broken marble and terrazzo flooring, and it's very hard to find it anymore. So for the floor tiles, I'm using Hafari terrazzo tiles. So this actually comes in two different finishing, matte and the glossy one. So I've decided to go with the glossy one because when marble is polished, it has a shiny kind of look. And then for flooring, I also added this like a wavy segment, like a divider to segregate the terrazzo tiles and also the cement tiles to give it a little bit of different texture. Moving on to the wall finishing, I wanted to keep the walls simple and clean. So I decided to go with Simply White from Nippon Paint just to keep everything clean looking. So as we move slightly towards the windows area, I got inspiration from the old school shop houses whereby they are using those shifted windows. And what I really like about the windows is there's this glass panel on top. It really gives extra colors and personality to the house. I have raised the floor to a platform kind of design height, and then the entire vinyl. So I'm using Floor Expert vinyl. So the vinyl actually flows all the way from the floor to the ceiling and all the way to the wall. So this is to kind of like frame the windows area.
So my inspiration for the room is a music room because I love music, surrounded by it all the time. So I thought I just wanted to create a room that I would personally relax in after a long day. In terms of the actual elements that go into the room, for the flooring, I think I was inspired by old shop houses in Singapore. So the black and white is a very iconic look. So I used this Hafari tile. And I love the hexagon shape and the black and white. So it actually looks like a wooden finish, but it's in black and white. So if you can see from the drawing, the middle part of the room is actually a fun pattern, but the perimeter of the room is actually in a black and white stripe. So I thought that was quite fun. For the ceiling, I actually went with panelled ceiling, so I thought that was quite iconic to the shop house as well. But I kept it in a neutral tone because I think in terms of decor, it's quite colourful. So for wall paint, because I have a lot of colour in the decor, I wanted to keep it neutral but still warm. So the paint is obviously from Nippon. It's called Natural Cane. Yeah, so I just wanted something light and neutral that complemented the other colours in the room. For the windows, similar to what Amy did, I think with shop houses, we have the arch windows, we have the shutter panels, and I just added just a bit of colour We have the jade breeze blocks, which is also iconic to like the Peranakan houses in Singapore.
So next, I think I'll go with my inspiration. So basically, this is gonna be an entertainment room. So with that in mind, right, I actually like it to be more fun. For the flooring itself, I actually have the tiles from Hafari as well, Terrazzo marble flooring finish. Then of course, for the wall paint itself, I'm actually getting from Nippon. For the window grille itself, we actually have the olden days kind of window grille. Okay, the one that is done out with mount iron, with patterns, a bit of, I would say, elongated oval shape. Then of course, we have the blind itself, which is also the olden days kind of metal blind itself. So over here, what you can see, right, it's actually a full height console. We have the old TV channel signal. The plan of doing this, right, is actually to use laminates itself from Amira. So over here, right, we can actually see I have selected a few different colors. These few colors will actually run in line with this pattern itself. So what happened is, right, I'm actually planning to do router lines, right, to split each and every section. And of course, within each section, right, we will have all these separate laminates. If you can see over here, I'm actually using the old classic door with top ventilation on top. Then over here, I actually have a counter. This counter itself is served as a, I would say, coffee or pantry counter itself. Then the cover, we actually have stained glass to make it relatable to the theme that we have. Besides that, for build-up itself, we actually have this iconic HDB chess table. Yeah, so we actually get from Hafari their tiles, the small mosaic tiles, right? So with this itself, right, we can actually get the tiler to do up this mold itself. So this one will double as a table with the chairs, which is also movable lah. Then yep, so this is my design concept.
Love it. I love the football, but mine says no football.
So kind of match now.
Okay, for my built-in items, I have a yellow TV console that I'm using as a vinyl player holder and display. Okay, so I went with a little curve. So the curve is only on this side. And then the laminate is called Sunlight by Admira. Okay, I love the glossy finish. It just gives a bit of like the retro feeling to it, yeah. Okay, and then this is not carpentry, but it's also a built-in item. So this is actually an olive velvet fabric. So I love that the base is actually using glass blocks, which is also pretty iconic to old Singapore houses. And even though it looks a bit industrial, but I feel like it still goes with the whole look.
So for me, I'd like to first touch on the customized table. So this table is actually a tea table. The tabletop, I'm using a granite from Lien Hin. And for the table legs, I'm doing a concrete leg finish in the Kit Kat tiles. So similarly, I wanted to adapt from the mosaic kind of stone look, but instead I'm using a Kit Kat, which is more trendy. For the other side of the table leg, I'm using a breeze block, which is the iconic look of the retro houses. Moving on to my carpentry behind. So this is a full height suspended carpentry. So this is mainly to store some display and also some tea items. Whereas for the finishing, I'm using laminate from Admira. I decided to go with something lighter because the other colors are pretty outstanding. And the wood at the center for the display, just to give an extra pop to the centerpiece in the middle. So we also have this bay window extended. Similarly, I'm using the Kit Kat tiles just to have some consistency. Yeah, so that's pretty much for the carpentry items. So now I will be touching on the soft furnishing items and some other areas that I didn't cover previously. First of all, I would say that the color scheme that I wanted to go with is more on the neutral. I wanted very strong wood color element. Just to tie back to the theme again, tribute to old Singapore homes, I have specifically reflected some old school kind of olden display piece. For example, like this sewing machine at the back, the iconic, the red bottle flask, and some other retro items. And then moving on to the balcony area, this is definitely a must-have in our old houses, the calendar. I also decided to add a little like a floral cushion just to add some pop, some colors to the entire space. And then for the frame on this side, this is actually a car coupon that we use in like the olden days where you have to plug open for car parking.
Okay, so because this is a playroom, it's an entertainment room itself, right? So I want to make it more cozy. So I actually have a gachapon over here. So my plan for using this gachapon, right, is to put coffee capsule in So as I went, I want to drink a coffee, I just turn. Whatever comes out, I will drink whatever is. And of course, we have the traditional, the stinger machine. Yeah, then of course, besides that, we have the very old school kind of table. I like this laminate finish as well. The iconic dragon playground and the iconic orange color is what we usually see when when we are back in our olden days itself. Then we have the rubber latex chair. Of course, payphone. I think you have a payphone. Your one is also cute. I will leave the payphone to you then.
For my soft furnishings, I think it was really to add my character into the space. So things like the no football sign, I think it's just something playful that we see under the blocks in Singapore. So it makes for like a good conversation starter if you have friends over. And I love just like a green tiled block just to store more vinyls. The whole display here is really just my own favorite music albums. So if you can see a photo of it, you're welcome in advance. Okay, and we have the orange telephone. I think this is definitely iconic to Singapore homes, which is why he has it as well. But it's just a cute little decor piece. Yeah, I think for the coffee table, similar to the bench, it's also made up from the ventilation blocks, but it's just concrete, not the glass blocks. Yeah, so I just tried to use a mix of raw and new materials just for that contrast. And a bar cut, because why not? Drinks and music. Yeah.
So this is definitely not my first draft. My first draft turned out very Chinese looking because of the tea house. And then I did a little bit of research on what are some iconic elements that reflect Singapore culture or Singapore homes. And the first thing that I added was the Peranakan kind of finishing, which is at the display area. So immediately the view just turned differently. And then slowly after that I added the louvered shutters, and then the entire retro vibe or the style slowly comes in. So my challenge was really finding the right materials or the elements to kind of like tie back to the feel. Yeah. Apart from that, I would say matching of the materials itself, because I actually use quite a lot of different materials like the granite, the mosaic, the floor tiles, and I would say it turns out pretty much what I wanted it to look like. So yeah, so it was definitely an enjoyable moment. Never thought that this would come out like this. Yeah. What about Ashley?
I actually liked the challenge. I think the curveball was fun because I love old and new mixed together. But I think my biggest thing is just making sure that it's not too much, because my style is quite colourful, and with shop houses and things like that, there's a lot of detail and intricate like cuts and lines in all the fixtures and elements. So I tried to just keep things in a neutral palette but iconic items. So like the windows, the panelled ceilings, the black and white flooring. So originally I actually did a black and white shop house door, but I feel like I needed a lot more natural light, so I changed it to windows, just adding elements of old things, so smaller things rather than something that's too obvious. Yeah, so and of course this is just playful elements, but when you look at it, I think it's still iconic that like, oh yeah, that's like a retro
which is very
thing.
nice,
Yeah.
because I think the yellow and the orange actually kind of complement each other, and the space is not that boring anymore.
Yeah, definitely not going for boring, but okay.
Okay.
Good to know. Yours?
Alright, mine.
Have you done something like that before?
I don't really, not so much of something like that, but I think I don't face much of a challenge. Maybe it's almost this era as well, I guess. Okay, so I think the only thing I feel is I don't want to overclutter the whole space. So I actually think of getting like ventilation block in. We have lizard-free wall, the rockstone wall itself. So. But I feel with that, it feels very, it really feels very to the theme itself, but I would still like it to be a bit more clean. So yeah, that's why I didn't actually have the rockstone wall itself in this setup itself. I try to stay relatable to the existing HDB as well. I'm gonna put it that way. Yeah, so not much changes to the window and things like that. Yep, so yeah, pretty fun doing this. Thank you for watching this episode of Designing Home. A very big thank you to all our sponsors.
Yes, and if you're interested in learning more about the sponsored materials, please check out the description box below.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and check out our other videos on our channel. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.